was your favorite part of the book?
I like it when he learns from Algamish and he learns how to be a good student.
Yeah. So who is your alchemist? Who teaches you about money?
My dad.
Wow.
So AKA,
Oh,
a new name, Alga. Alga Dad.
How about you, Edric? Who was your alchemist?
Various people. My dad taught me some
Yeah.
principles. Ilocano siya.
How about Lolo?
Just like your
Dad,
parents.
Yes.
how about Lolo?
Lola, yeah, my dad. So your Lolo taught
Who's
me.
his uncle?
And you know, even that. So
Yeah.
my father-in-law also has taught me a lot of principles. It's interesting because my father-in-law is an entrepreneur.
Yes.
And my father is a corporate guy. So it's a little bit like the rich dad, poor dad kind of dynamic, you know. But learning's both ways, is
Yeah.
my experience. I've also learned a lot from, of course, the show. It's been an education for me. Really, really powerful education. I mean, having guests like, what's his name? Marvin Fausto. He has a wife that's like an FQ mom, an author now. So really, a lot of these things are lessons I learned. But as a child, I think I learned a lot of it from seeing what my dad.
Yes.
My dad was very good in negotiating when we would go and buy things. He was not frivolous or not extravagant.
Even your
things like
mom?
that. My mom,
No,
all the
only
more.
the dad. Only the dad.
My dad is Ilocano, but my mom all the more. Hindi siya maluho, you know.
That's good.
So I'm glad that I was able to see that
You're
because
truly.
it helped me learn things even without them saying, "Oh, do this," you know, from their lifestyle. So I'm the same way. I'm not brand conscious, you know. My parents were never brand conscious,
And
but
so is Joy.
Joy's not brand conscious either.
And Joy's mom as well, right?
Yes, Joy's mom was like a hippie chick.
I know.
You know, very bohemian,
Bohemian.
very so that helped in our dynamic as well. So yeah, a lot of learnings from money, mainly as a child, from seeing as I grew and met people like, you know, my father-in-law's been a very powerful influence in how I handle money, and now of course with guests on the show, I learned more, and I try to pass on what I can to my kids. Kids, are you learning anything about how to handle money?
Yes. Yes.
How about if I can ask you about your childhood money memory? Remember we discussed it during my first
Yes.
guesting. Yeah. Do you
See that.
remember anything vividly as a child?
Yeah, I would remember. For me, I would remember the moments where we would go and look for bargains with my dad.
Really?
So let's say
How
when
old
we
were you?
travel, I would be about, I think about 9 years old.
So just
We'd
like
go around, like in between this guy and
Yes.
this guy. He's 8 and Elijah is
11.
Yeah,
That's about my age.
closer
Yeah,
to your age.
you're
closer
right.
to
I was
your
gonna
age.
One year
say.
later, then I'll be 9.
Yeah. So we would go around, you know, and in those trips when we would go and look for things, I remember my dad, you know, hindi yung tipong mahihiya siya na, okay, ito yung price that they quoted, so just take it. He said, Edric, always quote half first.
That's your
Always,
training.
yeah, so always go half. So if they say 100, you say, oh, hindi, 50 na lang. So I learned that, you know, and even in business, you know, and as I've grown and applied it, small deals everywhere, even if it's a fixed price in a store, I will still say, "Di ba pwedeng discount?"
Really?
That's
They laugh at
that's
you?
they laugh like, "Sir, naman fixed price na yan." I'm like, "Well, what
I'm
about
sorry, it's the
cash?"
force of habit.
Diba? And what about, and they'll say, "Ay, pag cash meron." Oh, you'll get surprised,
Exactly,
right?
yeah.
So things like that. Those would be vivid memories of mine. You know, bonding with my dad, going out, finding these amazing finds, and learning to bargain and haggle. Sarap.
Yeah,
But
you like
minsan
it,
may
you
inis
like
na
it.
yung mga sellers, right? They get really irritated, but you know, if you're able to do it in a charming way with a smile, you know, you can still find ways
I've
to
seen him
get-
do that.
He's seen,
So
there you go.
Do you
He's seen
feel
me do that.
embarrassed? No. Do you feel embarrassed?
My wife feels embarrassed when I do it, so she kind of walks in my kids now. I mean,
I'm not with it.
Yeah, like who's that guy, right? But so that's one. Yeah.
Ah.
So those would be vivid memories that I have of how they dealt with money, learning how.
Take a five.
You know, always look for good deals.
Yeah.
You know, always look for good deals. Don't settle. I guess in the day to day, I would see when we would shop, Christmas time and all that, we'd get nice stuff, but not brand per se, except maybe for athletic things. Don't measure. I think that's where my dad is a little bit more. You get
Like
good
the
brands because the
blow-dart
good brands
that
give you
we
good
got.
function.
Like the what?
Yeah, well that's not.
Did you learn the function rather than like style?
Yes. So you
Yes.
look for substance. If it works well, then you spend to be able to get something that functions well. But
when you-
otherwise, not extravagant.
When you enjoy, we're newly married, so would you like to share how were the money values? Did you have like similar money values, or were they really in opposite ends?
What was similar is that we were not brand conscious people. We're very
Okay,
form
so
over
that's one
function.
thing
Function
good.
over form, yeah. So
Yes.
that was an alignment. You know, both our parents and I learned from Joy. All the more, her dad is Chinese. So the same way my dad is Ilocano. So very thrifty, super thrifty. So, you see it in the way what my wife was. But the difference we had is that she never really worked for money, right? Because a few years after college, we already got married.
Yes.
So even as a corporate person, her family provided for her needs and all that. But me, even in college, I worked already. I did.
You were on your own, no allowance.
Well, a little bit of allowance, but there was a season where it was really my thing. I would look for sideline jobs even while I was a student, tutoring, doing like even community service, things like that. So I learned the value of working for my money. So that was a difference. So even into the marriage, when I would say, this is your budget, she was like, what's that? I mean, she had to learn to do. No, my wife is not maluho either, but having to learn to work with finite budgets was something we had to
That was her
work
challenge
on.
at the start of the marriage.
Kasi me, I've always worked with budgets, what I've got. I've not always been good at keeping the budget, but I always work with a budget. This is what we have. So that was part of the thing that we had to learn. I had to help her learn in the marriage. Is honey, and of course my job was to help that budget increase through the years, right?
Oh, of course, the source.
Which happened later on. At the start we lived very simply.
But that's a blessing in disguise. You have to start somewhere.
So it was a great. Looking back, it's been a great ride. Great, and my wife will say the same thing. Learning how God worked through even money and material things. It's an ongoing journey, but lots of lessons so far. And one of those things was that learning to deal with a structured budget was an interesting education for her.
Actually, I've seen you actually grow and mature into the industry of knowing things about finance over the last 2 years now, no?
It's been a good thing, good. In a good way, right? You're saying in a good way.
Of course, I am. And knowing what you know now, if somebody were to ask you, can you solve the poverty problem in the Philippines? What would be that one thing or at least 3 things that you do?
So number one, go back to the resources that we are blessed with. We have agriculture as a powerful base, and I think it's underutilized. Para ako nagpa-platform, So what I would do is help revitalize the agricultural sector and say, instead of coming to the cities, you go back. So simple life, but then you have things fresh from the source, and then you just help create systems where they're not where they don't get a raw deal. You have farmers getting pennies for the crops that they're able to put out. So so if you're able to uplift the earning potential of people there, then they will go back to that. So that would be my first thing. To help the poverty situation, you go back to the resources, which we have already. So agriculture. That would be the number one thing for me. And then number two, which is what we're already doing, is you couple that now with good money sense. Because you give a farmer more fish, and you teach them how to fish, but they don't know how to deal with the money when they get all that fish. They're gonna have a problem. Same vicious cycle that happens in the urban centers, diba?
That's right.
Spend the money you earn. So I think those would be the top 2 things. One, go back to our base. What I think, we're blessed to have abundant agricultural resources in the Philippines. Number 2 would be financial literacy. You need to help people learn how to deal with the money that they do start making. And number 3, I think ultimately for me, and like I shared even in this quick story time, people have to have a high perspective on money. I firmly believe that money is not money is neutral. It is not good or
neither
bad.
good nor bad.
Right. But people have to have a higher view. I get worried when people's view is I want to make more money just to be able to make more money and alleviate poverty. For example, if there is no higher perspective on why money even exists and what it is for, then people will have problems even as they go back to agriculture or even as they get financially savvy because they learn how to deal with it better. And my perspective ultimately is that God owns everything and that we just need to be good stewards and use it as He would want it. And if we do that, if we're able to do that, my opinion is we will be able to help change the way that poverty is currently.
Are you optimistic?
I'm very optimistic. We had a guest recently that said that one of the things that we do not see in the world today is that poverty has actually been alleviated already drastically in the last 20, 30 years. And we fail to see that because people still keep looking at how can we help, how can we help, how can we help.
So this
Here's
is
the
the
problem.
Philippines that
Here's
you're
the Philippines. Philippines and across the world.
Across
I mean, the Philippines we already know. Just recently we got triple B negative to triple B. That's telling, right? We are getting a lot better in terms of the economy. But globally, in general, poverty is in a better position than it was 20, 30 years ago. So, my 2 cents to how the Philippines can help change that would be this. You go back to Edric. You inform people of how to deal with money better. And then you give them a high perspective.
Yeah.
Ultimately, don't get out of poverty to get more things and learn to deal with it better. It's how can I use these resources the way that the provider of these resources wants me to.
And the third item that you mentioned,
Yeah.
it's really very family based about the higher purpose, because it can never be done outside. It has to be.
I agree. And homeschooling, right?
Yeah, I know.
I think that's the reason why we chose that.
If I
Primary
may
influence.
ask,
Yeah.
I'd like to find out what your ambitions are. What do you want to be when you grow up?
I'm not so sure, but I would like to become an architect and be able to
Maybe it's-
invent things.
Invent things.
Yes,
Yes.
design
That's a good question.
cars.
So have you been reading about architects?
Not really.
But you like big
I like building
buildings, yeah.
and inventing things.
Designs, right?
And now, what grade are you in?
I'm in grade
Grade 5.
almost grade 6, I think, halfway.
Yeah, I think so.
How about
What Beats?
Edith?
Hey, Beats.
What do you want to be when you
I
grow
don't
up?
know yet. I'm not sure.
But in the subjects that Mama teaches,
You
what's
like
your
the-
favorite? What?
Lots.
Lots.
What is it we like to
Name those
tease you
lots.
about a lot? Whenever we play games, you're the.
Oh, I heard you're the
I'm
money man.
controlling the money.
Yeah.
he's a business guy, right?
Yeah. You like controlling the money. Why is that?
I like having money.
And he's able to make the most. I mean, he seems to have a knack for just making the money grow, right? Like whenever we play games, you might lose the game, but they have the most money, right? Like
So
7
much.
wonders. So much coins and money.
He always beats everyone.
Yeah, as far as money is
How
concerned.
about Titus? Titus, what do you want to be when you grow up? You want to be an actor?
He likes being a doctor.
A doctor.
Yeah, when you play with your sister, right? Hmm?
And he pretends to be a doctor.
Beats, didn't you want to be an architect also with Elijah, or no?
No,
No?
I'm not the one.
The artist. Is that what you want?
Yeah.
Artist.
And science.
That's right, art and science, like an inventor as well, right?
Science.
You also like science? Okay, cool.
Galing. Thank you very much, boys, for sharing your time with Kiddos.
Say thank you, Rose.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's such a
This
great
is your
book.
picture.
Thank you, honey.